Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Morton. My pronouns are she, her. I am the artist and studio manager here at Baltimore Clayworks. We are thrilled that you all have joined us. I would like to acknowledge that I am joining from my office located on Piscataway and Susquehannock land, currently known as Baltimore, Maryland. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our virtual artist talk given today by Vanna Ramirez. She is a long-term resident artist. Please join us again on November 29th, when we will have a talk by Shay Keister. Kieran Joan will be giving her talk on December 6th, and on December 13th, we will have Patrick Bell. For more information about these artists, please visit baltimoreclayworks.org. I will now turn it over to Vanna.
Hello. Let me share the screen 1 second. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Vanna. I wanted to start off with a little introduction. So I was born in New York and spent the first 2 years of my life in Brooklyn. And then for most of my childhood, I grew up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland in Chestertown. It's a small town and more rural. And I went to high school in Delaware, and then I went to college in Skidmore College in upstate New York. So here's a little funny picture of me. I was, oops, my bad. Well, I'll just continue. So I wanted to start off with just a few images of some things that I find inspiring. So nature is a big thing for me. Nature and lots of clouds. So here's one of the landscapes. So these are summer clouds, which I love, and the skies. I love dramatic lighting, so I love all that. I also love to bike. I love nature, so biking is the perfect kind of mini escape. And I thought this was really neat. I was also on a bike ride when I took this photo. Another thing that I love is I love water droplets on leaves. I think they're very fascinating. And so I will obsessively stop and squat and take photos. I just love all the intricate details and the natural patterns that you can find. And I love how the light hits the droplets on a leaf. Here's my pup, of course. His name's Chato. He lives with my dad, though, in Chestertown, but he was very cute, and I love this photo of him. All right. So what I'm about to show is a collection of a few of my works prior to Clayworks. This one I made in my senior year of college at Skidmore. So this is my first group show and installation project. And this kind of started my whole exploration of the material in terms of like stoneware and porcelain. So this is the first time I got to combine both materials. At this point, I was trying to figure out how to light some of them up. So here I can show a detailed photo. I kind of played around with pushing the porcelain through the stoneware. I played with textures. And here again, I did the same thing. I didn't get to install the lights in these, but that was something I've been trying to do for some time. Since then, I've just kind of been playing around with that. Here, this is a year after. So I went to Penland for 2 months to do a spring concentration class with Terry Guess as my instructor. And he allowed us to do a lot of our independent projects. And this was the first time I explored the figural body. I've done hands before, but this is the first time I actually explored the whole body. And this piece is about 3/4 size human. Here's another shot. But here again, I love texture, so I try to incorporate that in my pieces, and also landscape. So it has a kind of natural landscape quality to it as well, which I really like. This one was wood fired, and it was kind of miraculous it survived. And then another piece I did also at Penland, but I didn't install the lights in this one until I got to Haystack, which was the same year, but in the summer. And so here I made a general sphere. Here is more of just material exploration and form exploration as well, where I combined the porcelain with the stoneware body in a way that is somewhat seamless. And if you can see how there's also texture on the porcelain pieces, that's actually glazed texture. And so this was the first time I was able to play around with that. That kind of happened as like a happy accident where I was in a rush to glaze. They're going to do a gas firing and I was late. And so I spray glazed it, and I didn't have time to wipe off the porcelain. So I just like, all right, let's just throw it in there. And so it turned out this way. And actually, let me point out another part of making this is that when I make the porcelain pieces, I also add wax resist to them so that they stay clean in the process and they don't dry out as fast, but also allows that kind of droplet effect on the pieces. And then here's the light in the piece. So this is the first time I was able to actually fully realize the whole concept of making the piece with the porcelain being thin enough to be translucent, and then also adding the lights in them. So two of the people at Haystack in the Fab Lab had helped me create a little LED module, battery powered. So this is what it looks like on the inside. And it's hollow. My structure, I'll go back, is hollow on the inside. So that way it can light up. So sorry for the back and forth. So I just finished my first solo show here at the Solo Gallery at Baltimore Clayworks. It is. Dun, dun, dun. So when I originally installed, I did not have time to put in the light fixtures. That took some time to figure out how to make it work with my pieces and the space as well. So I'll just go through some of them. This piece I made last year. So I made him separately from the rest of the pieces. All of them are hollow. And actually, let me just go back one more. This one was fired at a medium temperature, whereas the rest of them were high fire. Second one, so the next three, which I'll be showing, I made together between August to September time this year. So again, texture is a really big thing for me, and I tried to explore different textures with each piece. In this one in particular, I love how the ear kind of blends in with the texture of this piece as well. So I played with lighting in the space. So I tried to make it dramatic. So there's one spotlight per piece. So the next following pictures that I'll be showing I finally installed the lights, which I was able to do for my closing reception. So it was really nice to see my pieces with the lights in them. Part of my process, especially including the lights, is seeing how the pieces transform after including the lights within them. It kind of adds this sort of surreal atmosphere. So something I realized while putting the show together is that they were able to, even just the landscape of how the pieces were arranged in the space, right, that's also kind of like a landscape-esque. This was, I don't remember if I mentioned this before, but this is the first time I was able to make a series of figures together. Before, I would just make individual pieces, but this is the first time I'm making like a series. So I'll go ahead with the photos. So the first guy. So you can see the light coming through, which is really neat. What I like too is how the pieces ended up communicating with each other in a way, just by the body language and direction, which when I was making them wasn't necessarily intentional. I also really love the shot. I love how it almost doesn't look real, just with the light behind it. And the texture is a big thing. So it's really nice to see the texture and the light and also the exterior light kind of all interact with each other. And with the lights too, I programmed them so that they would slowly change subtly over the course of time. So they're and so when I was making these pieces again, I didn't make them planned out necessarily. I kind of just did them naturally and played around with how they felt in the space. So I really love this piece because the red in the light inside really just comes through and just adds that extra dimension to it, especially because the dramatic lighting allows for the cat shadows, which enhances the light within the piece. So here's like a close-up picture of the textures. So something about the textures too, and in relationship to the landscape pictures that I showed earlier, and also like the leafy pictures, I have a fascination with like almost like puzzle pieces and natural patterns. And so I like to play around with that with my pieces as well. I think this piece in particular was the only one that after I built the main form, this was the only one that I actually sketched out kind of how I wanted it to look at the top. So another thing with this piece is that what I wanted for the face, as you can see, it needed to be thin enough so that the face could also be translucent. So when you're looking up at it from below, you can also see the light coming through. some more texture pictures. So lights off now, the next series of pictures are with the lights fully off within the space as another step of the kind of transformative atmosphere of the pieces. Really like how the light kind of comes through from the curtains to kind of radiating. I really like the dramatic effect. Something that I came to discover also with my pieces in the complete darkness is that sense of silence and calm and peace that you'd feel just being in the space with the pieces lit up and just the darkness around you, versus when the lights were on. There's more, chaos within like the texture and the pieces themselves. So it's an interesting balance and play. Sorry, the photos are a little fuzzy because it was dark in the room. Really like the group photos, so just seeing how the pieces look with relationship to the other ones as well, and how the pieces communicate with each other. Particularly really enjoyed this piece too, because the face lit up, which I was really hoping for. I was really, really happy with that effect. That's what I was hoping for when I was making the piece. I tried to make the face as thin as the other pieces of porcelain, and it really helped with the whole concept. It also kind of reminds me of lava and like the breaking of a surface. And it almost feels hollow inside just because of how the light's coming through, which is really interesting as well. So the final piece here. It was really good, really neat just to see how the lights added so much more depth to the pieces. So I was able to kind of fully realize a series with the same concept and also adding the light with all of them. So for me, it's been several years of working with that and trying to make it work. And it was really nice just to have that all come together within the space. So another thing I wanted to share was behind the scenes of making all of my work. And first I want to share with you one of my mentors who I studied with at Haystack. I was a TA for Andile Vanna. He's a South African ceramic artist, and he taught me the hand building techniques that I learned through the quill building. I use mostly quill building. So he taught me what I knew from there. And also just his pieces are incredible. And he's just an amazing person. And he shares so much love through his pieces as well, which is also something that I really admire and look up to. So this is part of the process of building the main vessels. I build them hollow first. This guy didn't make it to the show. I'm still working on him, but here he is. Eventually you might see him. So I also love to work outside if the weather is cooperative. So I made a couple of them outside. At least I started part of the process outside. Part of making hands, I like to make several at a time. Always like the double, like having my hand holding the hand. Breakfast. Making a couple faces, trying to test out how I want the faces to look like on my pieces. So this is when I was making the 3 pieces, the 3 larger pieces. The smaller guy, I forgot to include the progress photos for that one. So this is the tall one without the face yet. And here's the face. It's with the face in it. And so also I put wax on the face as well. So all the porcelain pieces, I always put wax on them. It just helps with, what I've come to learn is it helps with keeping them from drying out too much, keeps them clean, and also allows me to do the glazing. Also, all of my pieces are once fired as part of that process as well. And here's, I built the form and I attached the face to the last. You can see it's hollow in there. So oftentimes I will play around with forms. So I'll use like little clay stubs and kind of play around how I want the hands and the arms to look. Here I've recently attached the hands and I'm about to attach the face. Another perspective. So here I'm modeling the face on the figure. Around to see how it looks. So as you can see in this one, for example, I tried to make the faces kind of like a mask. It's kind of like disguised within all of that texture. So this is the next step where I make all the porcelain pieces that I add to the body. And so I would pinch out a lot of these guys at a time and then go ahead, and this is my studio space, and then I'd go ahead and attach them to the pieces, as I'll show very shortly. So this is the process where I first attach them, I carve out the shape, I just kind of mark the shape with a needle tool, and then I'll take the pieces back off, carve out, you know, take out the hole, and then carve out a little kind of inset so they have a place to sit, and then I'll attach, as you can see in the photo. Here's the other piece, so you can see that process similar. And so also while working at the studio, of course, if it rains and I see some leaves with droplets, I will most likely stop and take photos, which is what these are again. I just can't help myself. So here's this piece, the tallest piece, with all the porcelains attached, and you can see all the dripping. That's just from the wax that I added. Here in this piece, I'm showing the addition of texture to the body. So what I would do behind it, if you can see the brush on the right side in the middle, it's sitting on a plastic board. So what I would do is I mix the slip and then just from the main clay body, and then I kind of like paint it on or kind of paste it on thinly to the plastic board. Then I paint on an additional slip. So that's the black that you see. And then if it's semi-dry, I would take a soft rib and I would kind of scrape it off the slab and into these kind of fun textures. And then I'd kind of like paste them on and kind of like puzzle piece them together. A shot of that. So I'd kind of start around each porcelain piece and then I'd work out from this way also, for example, it allows for the two pieces, the porcelain and the stoneware, to be within the same body without it being too obvious that they're not supposed to be together. So if there's any cracking issues, it'll be all concealed under the texture. So here are the pieces. After we loaded them, Sam and Gary helped me load them. They were so awesome in helping me with this process. They got my pieces through start to finish, and thank goodness. Right there behind my pieces is Gary. So I thought I had another picture there. And while I was firing, I was painting the room. So that's the snapshot of me painting the room. Oh, here's another picture. And behind my pieces, kind of towards the right side a little, is Sam. I couldn't really get a good picture of him though. But they're, again, really amazing in helping me with this process. I couldn't have done it without them. Here are the pieces after they've been fired. Kiln, the gas kiln. And here I am playing around with the little light structures that went inside my pieces. So I used LED strips and I attached them to like these styrofoam and kind of made that happen. They're battery powered too. That way you wouldn't see them, the cords or anything outside of the piece. And when I turned off all the lights in the gallery and I was about to close. So thank you.